welcome back to another episode of A Tribe Called Dhillon podcast. I'm Angie Dhillon.
And I'm Rose Dhillon.
And I'm Alvin Dhillon.
And I hope you had a great week. We're going to just give you a quick little recap on our week. I did nothing. Oh, I finished the Bhagavad Gita.
Hey.
Yeah, I finished the Bhagavad Gita. We'll talk about it on another episode. We're going to table that because it's an intense read, but I do recommend it. Rose, what'd you get up to?
Awesome. Well, actually, I'm really looking forward to, I have my group of friends and we're going to be playing poker. I don't know how to play poker. So I'm going to be learning this weekend how to play poker and I'm looking forward to it.
I don't know how to play poker, but all I know is make sure you have a poker face ready.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm not good at poker face. So this will be interesting.
Take a pair of sunglasses with you.
Hey, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm going to try that.
Then no one can read you.
Yeah, because I've been told that I'm a bad liar. So I'm pretty confident I'm not going to do well in poker.
Yeah. Al, what'd you get up to?
Nothing too crazy, but I just upgraded a laptop, I replaced the hard drive, made it 10 times faster than what it was. So took an old one, made it new again, did some computer stuff. I worked on some podcast editing. That's about it.
Busy week.
Yeah.
Yep. All she wrote for me.
Okay, good. I want to talk to you about something that's been on my mind. I feel that perhaps our perspective on this can maybe help some people. Social media.
Ooh.
We've all had our interactions with social media, and I'm gonna call this social media the good, the bad, and the ugly. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go to you, Al, for this first question. What's the good with social media? I
think the good is that you can find people like us out there that I guess motivate you. Because I was never really a big social media person, but when I did use it, it was usually to find something motivational, something funny for sure. Like there was this guy named King Batch, which he's got a big following, and he did some really funny skits and pranks. So I like watching that kind of stuff on there, but sometimes you get a little carried away and you keep scrolling, and 20 minutes later you find yourself in just like literally watching a lot of like useless stuff on social media. So that's a good part of it. That's what I like about it. Mm-hmm. That you also see kind of sometimes cool products that come out. They're pushing it out there. But yeah, that's my bit of it.
Okay, so that's all you got. The one good thing, you get some good content.
Yeah. Because when you get to the bad part, I got plenty more in that bad part.
Okay,
at least my version of what I think is bad that doesn't work for me.
Okay, Rose, what about you? What do you find the good in social media?
Same with Al. I love being motivated, inspired, or elevated, kind of like our motto. And so when I go down social media, I ensure my feed is around those things that will motivate me, give me some inspirational quotes, help me start my day off, with that good mindset. So like the David Goggins of the world or the Jay Shetty's of the world, I love, kind of in digesting their content. So that's the good for me.
Anything else to add?
No, I think that wraps up the good part of social media. There's a lot on the bad, but I think the good is really just the motivational aspect of it.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised neither one of you said this because I feel with the introduction of social media, the whole world is connected now. Mm-hmm. We are so connected. Like you can find out what someone's doing in Pakistan, what someone is doing in Saudi Arabia, all from a tweet or all from like a live social media, Instagram live chat. So we are so connected more than ever. But I also feel at the same time, if this makes sense, we're also very disconnected. Mm-hmm. I feel the values and the behaviors of society no longer seem to gel with values and behaviors of someone perhaps in another country. So, that's the bad part. We'll get to that. But the good is, of course, we're so interconnected now. Right? We can all have conversations with people throughout the world. I like that aspect of it. Of course, you've got so many different types of social content on there. Some people refer to this as social, but I don't classify this as social. Some people say that now you're able to do your online banking and pay bills and things like that. That's just the online technology aspect. It's not social, right? So when I think, do you see what I mean?
People get confused with that.
Right. Yeah. So when I think of social media, I think of, let's say if there's a credit union out there and you're following or supporting their platforms on, let's say TikTok or Facebook or on Instagram, you are supporting the causes that this credit union, is involved in. So that's social media. If you're talking about paying a bill or any of that kind of stuff, that's their online banking platform. That's
internet. Yeah, that's different.
Right.
Agreed.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So I think there's that confusion there.
So when you're talking about social media, I'm assuming you're talking about YouTube, like anything where you can get content, right?
Yeah.
Like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Snapchat. I know there's probably the list is going to keep growing, but that's what you were talking about when we say social media,
like
correct?
Personal content.
Right. Personal. I think any platform that allows you to post a comment,
Okay.
good or bad, social media, that type. So for me, the good is I just think that it's so neat to learn about other countries, what they're doing, the types of food they eat, what they do for motivation. That to me excites me. So I think that's one plus. And another good is, of course, you have access to free information now. So much information that we didn't have access to prior to social media.
Like you could get a college degree online without having to get a college degree. I mean, if you go onto YouTube and you type in MIT, like they have all their classes now recorded. I mean, they might be a year behind, but they'll release all, like I remember when I was just curious about blockchain, I was able to go on YouTube and just like watch hours of content for free. I didn't have to pay for it. So you're right. There's a lot of benefit of getting, educated for free online.
Yep. Yeah. And it's also when I was going back to university and I was taking courses and I was hesitating between certain courses. And if you would just type in like, the university name and a course, all of a sudden all these platforms would come like, don't take this course. This instructor's terrible or that. And, you kind of got a little bit of insight into what this course is about or what it's going to offer and if it's beneficial for you. So I found that aspect very beneficial for me. So for me, I've got at least 2 good pluses there.
Yeah,
Awesome.
no, now that you said that, I do have actually a really good plus. I think about it. Social media has empowered and enabled people to basically create revolutions. Because if you think about for Arab Spring, when that started happening, and especially with Egypt, when they overthrew their dictator, that would not have been able without the power of Facebook, because people wanted to spread the message and to get support and get people to come and rally and protest. If you did it the old way, which would have been through mega news, a radio, you can only gather so many people. With social media. You can instantaneously reach millions of people immediately, and you can start like forming a group of people, of like-minded people, and you could work towards your goal, which it helped a lot of people. Like look at Black Lives Matter. That would not have been possible without social media and the spread of it and people supporting it. Arab Spring, there's so many other places. I think when China was having that issue with, I think it was Japan, there were all social media, they were trying to block it, and then they were trying to circumvent it by using their own VPNs to gather people. But yeah, I've seen it help a lot of people. And I think the future that governments, people, especially dictatorships, need to realize that the power is with the people. And it doesn't matter how you block social media, there's other ways around it, because technology has been created by man. We'll just figure out another way to get around it. And that's the future of us helping to gather people, gather information, and go and stand up for their rights.
Yeah. The beauty of social media is the reach factor now, right? Yeah. When people have coined that term, that video went viral, and I'm still like scratching my head sometimes, but it does, because you can get 1 million people can watch a video, across the world in like 10 minutes. That is the power of social media, the reach. You can reach the masses, right? The connectivity of reaching so many people. Like, do you know 1 million people here in the Lower Mainland?
No, but I think we reached like 250,000 people in India that watched our posts on Facebook. Oh. I was like, wow, I did not expect that. So that was really like surreal to be like, oh my God, that you're right. Because of social media, the reach that we can have.
I'm still adjusting to the numbers. It'll blow my mind when I see that. I'm just like, this is for real?
Yeah. We were just happy if a few people watched, right? We knew our message was good and positive, and
if
positive.
I get a solid 7 people to listen, I'm good.
Do you recall when we started off the podcast, we set some goals for ourselves? Because I like doing SMART goals, as I mentioned before. Do you all know what the SMART?
No, maybe because that was done so early. Why don't you give the viewers a refresher on that?
SMART goals, I hope I get this right. They're specific, they're measurable, they are achievable, they are realistic, and time bound.
Is that right?
Now you're going to throw me off my train of thought. What was I about to say now?
Smart goals.
Smart goals.
Smart goals. So that's what I said. So when we started, okay, here we go. Now focus and bring it back home. Now, when we started off this podcast, I initially said, I will just be happy if 10 people support us, follow us, subscribe to any of our platform channels.
Yeah.
And I think I also mentioned that one of my goals was if we can get 100 supporters on Instagram. I think I set the bar really low because I don't really know much about social media. All the three of us are learning as we're going along. And we got more than 100 friends.
Yeah.
Woo, digital friends.
So thank you to everyone who is
Yes,
supporting
thank you.
us.
So
and-
see, that's the good aspect of social media.
Yep.
Let's get to the bad. Can you play some
drum roll?
Yeah, some special effects with the bad, Al.
Some dramatic
Okay.
stuff here.
I'm going to go to you let's talk about the bad of social media.
A lot, unfortunately. Well, I think I would say it's what you look at and what you think is bad. I think, unfortunately, with social media now there's certain like public figures or influencers out there that have amassed a huge following. And unfortunately, what I think their message to the younger generation is not exactly the most positive, not the most uplifting. It's very vain, very superficial. They're not like teaching the younger generation to look inside. They're teaching them to say, okay, you don't like this about your face. You don't like that. Guess what? We have plastic surgery for that. You just go get it fixed. I get it. Some people have crooked noses or whatnot, some things, but where do you draw the line? Because now what I'm seeing is the younger generation, especially like the females, are like, they all want to look like a Barbie doll. They all want to permanently look like that. And then you don't know when they're happy, when they're sad. They're constantly like this all the time. Forehead doesn't move, face doesn't move, lips are like, at some point, what is actually real about you when you started off looking like one person and now you look completely different.
Right.
I'm not against that stuff. I just think you got to have it in certain measures and certain doses. Like when you look like one person and 2 years later you're a complete different person. I don't know. Like I get that people are dealing with a lot inside.
Well, and I want to add to that because you can change your exterior all you want, but if you're not working on the interior, then you're just a pretty face with an ugly inside. And what good is that?
Yeah. Like I'm not I'm like knocking it, but I just think there's certain limitations there. And unfortunately, most of what I'm seeing, the public figures out there are like capitalizing on that. Yeah. And then once they get a certain following, they start pushing their products. But their entire message is not really what I would connect with or what I want my kids following. I would be like, is that what I want my kids thinking? That, oh, don't worry, you're 20 years old, you don't like it, go get implants and change your face and look like this and you'll be happy. Right. I don't think that's really the answer or the right message to be putting out there.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
What else you got?
A lot more I got, but I thought I'd
switch it up. Yeah. For me, I think I agree with Al saying too, there's this whole push on looking a certain way. Now,
body image.
Now, there are also celebrities that are quite doing it the opposite, which is I'm really heavy and I want to display that and say that's good too. That's not also healthy either. You know, you got to, like you're saying, find that balance. You know, exercising is important. Eating healthy is important. Doing things for yourself is important. If you want to go dye your hair or tweak yourself, but like Al said, there's got to be limitations to these things, and they're not going to bring you the fulfillment that you're looking for. You have to look within. I think about my aunt who gave me this really great piece of advice. I remember being in San Diego with her, and I was just having a sad day. I had come out of a relationship, and I was just kind of, feeling low. And she said, "You don't look very happy." And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "Can I give you a piece of advice?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Put on some red lipstick. Just go look in the mirror, put on, and you'll feel good about yourself." Okay, really? She's like, "Yeah, it's that simple." And honestly, it has stuck with me. It's 7 years later or 8 years later. And if I'm having a bad day, I put on some red lipstick and I think about her, and then your day changes. You shift differently. So there are benefits to, makeup or hair or whatever, but fine line. So for me, the bad that I want to say is that people, we chase after what we see on social media and we think it's real. And then we want to mimic them and imitate them, not realizing those people are only showing us the good. They're not necessarily telling us what's happening behind the scenes, what it took for them to get on and do what they're doing. I'll tell you my own bad, which is probably really embarrassing, but this is the truth. And I am obsessed with Jennifer Lopez. Been obsessed with her for I don't know how long. So now I'm obsessed with Bennifer. So when I'm on social media, I'm like, looking at their photos and looking at their videos and seeing them together. And okay, it's really creepy. I actually get really excited and I'm like, I want a Jennifer too. Like it's so I catch it and then I go, why am I so obsessed with them? Why is the world so obsessed with these two? I mean, I get it. 20 years later, they found love, but there's just something about them. And I catch myself going down that rabbit hole of looking at them and idolizing them. And then I put my phone down and say, this is not real. Walk away. Mm-hmm. So I see what it can do. None of us are immune to the bad. We can all go down that. So be careful with your feeds and be careful and catch yourself when you're obsessing about someone. Mm-hmm. I'm not nipping it. I'm not lying, but I'm saying I'm self-aware of working on that. I'm like, okay, I'm a little obsessed with these two.
Well, there's that advice that they'll give you on certain platforms that not to follow celebrities because they hold a certain standard that we could never achieve or never be.
That is good advice. I don't actually follow any of them but her. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think you should say you can never achieve it. You can if you believe in it. But I just don't think that's not the right thing to have in your feed when you're at the bottom trying to work your way up. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like looks like it's like a daunting thing. So I get that part of it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's.
Do you think that you can wear a Dixie crop top and like Hispanic jeans, like from when Jennifer Lopez used to be in Fly Girl, and then do a pole dance from her movie Hustler?
Nope. So she is cut from a whole different cloth. I do love that she's aging so beautifully and gracefully. And I like that she keeps setting the bars on her
she's
goals.
Challenging.
She challenges status quo. Yeah. Keep reaching. Is that what I would do? Would I walk around with half my clothes on? No, that's just culturally, that's just how I was raised, was differently. And I won't be able to adopt to that. And that's fine. But yeah, there's just something really, for me, interesting about her. Because like you're saying, she just keeps challenging the status quo. And coming from a culture where it's not like that, I think that's why I think I find her so fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
For me, the bad, I think there's a lot of fake news that's out there with social media. Yeah. Our mom is guilty of this. She will forward you things all the time. That so-and-so passed away, or when I don't want to talk about the infamous president of the United States of America that was in the limelight for lots of notorious things. Mom would always have like, so-and-so's in jail now, so-and-so. And we're like, Mom, that's fake news.
It's Photoshop. You didn't realize that you can just Photoshop things.
Yeah. And so a lot of people can't decipher between what's real and what's not. And if your sole source of your information and fact checking is from social media and not a credible, newsworthy journalist or newsworthy broadcast corporation company, then you're in trouble. So I think there's that fake news aspect. Another one that's near and dear to my heart is cyberbullying, because there's so many sites now. This for the next generation. Oh God. And I can't say it's so simple as exit out of the chat. You can't, because kids are now they could be taking a photo of a student from school, cropping that photo into a sexual image, and now pasting it for the world to see, when this kid probably never has taken their clothes off.
Right.
So do you see how you can doctor images now? And now all of a sudden you have to go to school and face these students when you didn't even do these things. Or you could put two students together in a makeout scene. You're like, that's not even this individual. So that really, really, I don't even know how we can crack down. That is just another beast on its own.
No, and that's a scary beast. Is that the bullying, and especially of children, young girls, especially when boys are lying of what they've done with them, and what that does. I mean, I remember in high school having a really beautiful friend, and she had a boyfriend, and when they broke up, he went and spread all these rumors about her, and she couldn't fight it anymore, that she ended up just doing the things that they had said about her. And it was really sad, like looking back in hindsight. She was a really sweet, nice girl, but they ruined her reputation by saying all these derogative things about her. And then she just couldn't fight it anymore. And then it got to, like, I remember thinking, I wonder if this is true. That's what the power of that was then, that it thankfully only affected our high school and maybe a couple other high schools that knew about her. But I can't imagine if social media was around then, what the damage that really would have done to her. Because it's really powerful when you are going around and saying mean things or wrong things about people, whether it's a guy or a girl, and then posting it all over social media. And then that child has to go to school and face those people the next day. The consequences for that is really tough, really hard. Yeah.
And I think that maybe, I'm not a psychologist, but I think that's one of the big drivers of why there's so many school shootings in the States, because they have access to the guns. and they're getting bullied, it's always someone that was bullied to the point where they just could not take it anymore. And the bully was bigger than them, so they couldn't fight him. What's the only way we can equalize the situation? They came to the school, shot the person, and then shot whoever else was part of it. And I think that's a big driver. Luckily, thank God, down here it's very hard to get guns.
In Canada.
It's not sold. Unfortunately, like I learned recently that it's sold at like Walmart and all the big stores that you can, like how you look at your groceries and the flyers. This is the first time I saw this. I was looking at them, I was like, oh my God, no, these are airsoft guns. These aren't real. And Rose was like, no, these are real guns. I look at the price. I look at this. I'm like, holy shit. It took up a good 40% of the newspaper page. It was like overpowering the fruits and vegetables. And I was like, wow, I can just go over there and buy myself a gun.
And again, that's such a culture shock for us, not ever being around guns. And then when I moved to America, I was like, oh yeah, I'm walking into Walmart and seeing them all on the stands. I was like, it was such a foreign concept for me and it still is foreign. I still cannot adapt because my whole life was never surrounded by that. Yeah. So when I come here, I'm always like, it's a culture shock for me.
They look at you strange if you don't have one.
Yeah.
Like, what? You're not a gun owner? Like, I got one on me right now. I got one on my leg and my ankle.
Yeah. Let's get back to the bad. The bad, I actually experienced this. So I'm not sure if you both know this, but social media really came into play full force in 2008. In 2005, I like to call it like a soft opening. It kind of came out. Not everybody knew what was happening. There was platforms like MySpace, some of these, these platforms that were just kind of like testing the waters. And I think in 2008, Instagram, Facebook, all of these other platforms went really hard. I don't think Instagram.
I think it was just Facebook, right? 2008. Yeah. Okay. Instagram was newer.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's when a lot of these platforms decided to go, like full on. For me, my experience, the bad was I was married at the time, and there's a platform called Plenty of Fish, and I'm going to go ahead and
that's a dating app.
It's a dating app. I don't even know if it's around, but they need to be fact checking. Yep. I think all dating platforms need to fact check. Like, hey, is this individual? So we had a friend that was dating on this platform at the time, and goes to my husband at the time, goes, I think Angie's on Plenty of Fish, or it was my photo. Someone took a photo.
Someone took your photos from MySpace.
Yeah. And I gotta credit them. They put a really nice caption. They said beauty and brains, something like that. I was like, oh man, I can't even get mad at this person for that statement, but they stole my photo. Yeah.
So your photos, there was multiple photos.
And it was a trip from when I went to Italy and Paris. I actually had a colleague of mine that was dating on that app. And I said, hey, can you try and lure this person? I would like to meet them. And I asked my friend as well. I said, listen, you're online. Do you mind trying and luring this person on a date? Like, you think they're going to go on a date and they're going to meet you? They're using my photos. They don't look like that. But the idea was for me to go and have a conversation with them, because I wanted to do the whole big sister talk. Like, listen, you don't be you. You're not going to find anyone if you're not being authentic and being yourself. I actually tried to go to the authorities. They laughed at that and said, please take this as a compliment. I'm like, no, this is an invasion of my privacy. Luckily, my husband knew that, I wasn't doing anything shady. But to me, that just drove me up the wall. And then finally, I think I ended up reaching out to the person. I said, this is me. You're using my photos. At some point, they took their dating app, like their whatever it was. What do you call that? Like their profile down. Their profile down. But when I reached out to
and they call themselves Ranch. Do you remember that? Actually, it was. I remember the whole thing because I got a phone call too from other people. Like, hey, isn't your sister married? I'm like, yeah, she's on Plenty of Fish. And I didn't know what Plenty of Fish was at that time. I thought it was some kind of like another social media thing. I didn't know what that was. I was like, that sounds about right. She's in VJ stuff and music stuff. So she's probably on there. Not realizing that was a dating app.
I found out through my aunt.
Yeah.
That actually she called. Yeah. She's like, oh, that's a dating app. I'm like, how does my aunt in her 50s know about Plenty of Fish? And I don't know. So that was my I guess, encounter with a social media dating platform. Like, I don't really like this. I don't like where it's going, because no one was taking any accountability. Even when I reached out to the dating platform and said, hey, like, you need to shut down this user. And then they're asking me to verify myself. And I'm like, what? How was this person able to verify themselves using my photos?
Right.
So that for me, I was like, okay, this is not good. It's definitely bad. Now, finally, getting to the ugly. Let's talk about the ugly aspect of social media. The comments. The not so nice people that are out there. Al, you got something to say about the ugly personalities out there?
The keyboard gangsters.
The trolls.
Talk a big game. Talk so much smack.
It's funny. I don't say anything. I just say those hurt souls. Like, those are the broken souls.
I know. They're just it's a reflection of themselves. What's going on. Yeah. I've never left any like mean comments on anything. Even at restaurants where I've been to and their food has been crap, I don't go leave a 2-star on there. I'm just like, somebody else will come figure this out and see for themselves. And,
that I'm starting to do. I'm starting to be like, food wasn't
because
that
it could
good.
be a one-off,
just so
right?
that
You
people
don't know.
have to go there and spend their hard-earned money. I will say, I did leave a not so pleasant comment recently on Andrew Schultz's podcast because he had Dr. Huberman on. I'm a big Dr. Huberman fan, and they were all talking over him. So I was like, stop talking. I can't hear him. That was the only time. I said, terrible podcast episode, deeply disappointed. I couldn't hear the brains that you brought on the show.
That's reasonable comment.
Right.
Then that,
I felt bad after.
That's feedback. That's actually
I
positive
felt bad. I was
feedback.
like, maybe I should DM them. I commented on the YouTube.
Oh, Rose.
You're like, just a compensation for my comment, I will still like
I did.
and share.
I did.
You didn't post it as a Tribe Called Dhillon podcast with
No,
that
it was my
feedback,
personal
right?
account.
Okay, good. Just checking. Just checking. We don't want to get in trouble
I
here.
feel that way too. I've seen
Yeah.
some of his stuff where like he has good people and they're all just all over each other. I'm just like, this is like a party almost. Like when people are drinking and they're just nonstop all over each other. That's what I felt like was happening. I'm like, I can't hear no messages from this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, and especially when you have someone like Dr. Huberman on, when he's got such a wealth of knowledge that he's putting out there, like give him the platform. Shh, let him speak.
Well, you brought him on your platform for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's wonderful. I struggled. I actually did still watch it because I love his knowledge, his information, but I struggled to get through it. It took me like a week to get through that 90-minute podcast because it was painful to listen to.
Right. Okay. Well, we talked about the ugly. We talked about the ugly, which is the hurtful comments, the people that are not nice on there, right? So the good, bad, and ugly. My advice, if we have any advice for people out there that are social media addicted, limit your time on social media in a week. If you know how now, I think there's that feature, like you've been watching content or for 19 hours or something. You got a problem if you are.
Wait, there is?
There is something on your thing when you reach a certain amount, or you can go into your platform feed.
Time limit.
Yeah, you can put a time limit to the amount of time that you spend on social media. So I do like that.
I do that for myself. I set the timer on when I go to one of them, and it's got to be 15 minutes and it's twice a week. And then I have to be off. You're not allowed to go on past.
So Al, what do you think is the ugly aspect of social media?
Well, I'll give you my version of what I think is ugly, and it probably is maybe my personality of how I look at things. But when I was younger and in that stage of where like you're looking for role models, and people always say, because I'm a skinny person, so I've always wanted to gain weight and look jacked, because every time I went on social media, all you saw was the guys posting pictures of them jacked, standing in front of a nice fancy car, always with a beautiful woman. And you're like, this is all I see. I'm like, man, this is what I need to obtain. I got to the point where I was debating doing steroids because all my friends around me were like, dude, this is the only way you're going to get the size. You're going to bulk up. He's like, it doesn't matter how much you eat, how much you work out. He's like, you're never going to get that look and that size. Like, everyone's juicing it. That's what they call it. Like everyone's on juice. And I was thinking about it. I pondered it for like almost like a year or two. And I would say the two things that kept me at bay was the cost, because I didn't realize that if you take good quality like growth hormones and steroid, it's about $1,500 a month as like your base. It can go up to $2,000 a month. So I was like, oh, okay, that's not going to fit into my budget. And the second was that, like, depending on your kidneys, like, it can really affect your kidneys. And you won't know until about 10, 15 years later because it's really hard on it. And I'm like, I'm already on some medicine that is going to be affecting my kidneys. I was like, I don't think I can take that on. So I kind of just, I guess I mentally dealt with it. And I got to that point where I was like, I'm okay with being skinny, because as I got older, I started realizing all the people that did take it, you gain a lot of mass, but if you don't continue working out, it just turns into fat and you can't lose it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know what? I was like, I'd rather just be skinny because it's less harder on my joints. And I'm more like flexible. I can get up quickly. You have more energy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, more energy. And I was like, I don't have to worry about, like, people always say, well, I need to lose weight. I need to watch my diet, because thankfully I can eat a lot of crap food and still stay at the same level. So for me, was the ugly was when I went on social media, I only saw like the beautiful girls, and I was like, oh man,
like the Andrew Tates of the world.
You started getting addicted to that, and then you started seeing all the Nungi girls, and then you're like, oh no, this is all on my feed now. And for me, my mental health, I felt like every time I went on the app and I stopped looking at it, my mind went to a frenzy almost. Like I was like, oh, how do I obtain that? How do I get to that level? How do I get this? How do I get that? And I started looking at just ways of, okay, I need to go make money. I need to go do this. And I was like, man, this is not the right way of thinking. I was like, the universe has a plan. I can only do so much. Mm-hmm. Let's just let that go and let's see how it works out. So my thing was, I went out and just started unfollowing everybody. And then I actually just stopped going on social media. I literally came back to it once we started this podcast. And even now my feed is very limited. It's only positive stuff and a few funny things. And that's about it.
I don't have a social media account, but I've been told that I need to create one by Rose.
Well, I think we should all have our own personal account, whether you have to limit yourself to your usage. I have a personal account and I haven't used it in 2 weeks. I haven't had time, right? Between the day job and the podcast, I haven't had time to use it. So I limit, but when I do it, I go on 15 minutes twice a week and go through the dumpy that I need to go through or the power stuff or whatever it is I want to do. I'm very mindful of not looking at stuff that will upset me or, because I can't save, like I've said, I can't save the world. I can save myself. So I'm really mindful. But the ugly for me was really, that's when I realized when seeing some of the comments that people would write under other women. And I was like, whoa, like this is women cutting down other women. Like I have never in my life posted a negative comment about another woman on any platform. Again, Andrew Schultz was the only one that I said. And that was more feedback to say, please be mindful when you have guests on. Other than that, I have never said anything derogatory about another human being on a social media platform, and I never will. And I hope we have more people that understand that that does hurt people's feelings. It does bring them down. And if you have nothing good to say, don't say anything at all,
And if you do see some negative comments coming from us, our account got hacked.
Yes.
That's not us.
That's not our message or a brand.
Ain't me by nature. If I need to have a conversation with someone, I'll have a private setting and talk to you face to face or through Zoom and app properly, not through putting little sneak disses on the comments and people like that just shows your integrity and what you're going through inside. Like you got to fix your
That's exactly what I said. When I saw some of the comments, I always have to remind myself, like, I don't know what's happening in their world that's making them want to do this, because you've got to be in a dark place where you'll take the time out to go and send a nasty. I mean, we've gotten some unpleasant comments. You and I have DM'd. And I look at them and I just say, I wish you all the best. I don't even respond to it because I'm not going to fuel that fire. But engage. It's alarming to see how many people say such derogatory things about other people. We don't know what those people are going through, just like we don't know what you're going through. So let's be kind,
And people don't know us, right? So they're basing it off a clip.
Yeah.
And then they're putting in their comments and there's something that I read somewhere where you can have 10 positive comments, but that one negative comment that comes in, and that's the one that sticks. That's the one that you heart.
And I'm gotten really good on not doing that. I see all the beautiful messages that we get on Facebook from India. Like there's just beautiful, and there might be one off, and I'm okay with knowing that that's not about me. They're projecting whatever they're feeling. Like that's never, it really is never to do about you. It's always about what they are doing in their life and where they're feeling stuck. So, but it is definitely the ugly of social media.
And unfortunately with the social media, when you see the negative comment, you see it there. But if you look at in just general life, we deal with that on a daily basis with coworkers or people around you that are being nice to you, but saying other things behind your back. And you have to deal with that. And you're like, am I going to let them take my power away? It's like dirt off my shoulders.
I agree. And that's not, real life. If people that are genuinely in your circle are not going to support you, I know of some people that have this, and they brought this up to me. Has this ever happened to you? And I said, I'm not that, active on social media, but they've got some friends that follow celebrities, and then they'll notice when they go on, I guess, if you're on a certain profile, on a certain page, whereas they've liked that individual's content, but they don't like the person that they're following their own content. Have you ever had that?
I'm not sure of following.
So let's say you have a group of friends and they are following you on your platform, but when you go to make a post, they don't like any of your posts, but yet they'll go on some celebrities' posts and they'll like the celebrity. So you're like, you're not supporting me, but you're going to go in and support a person that you don't even know's message.
Right.
So I've had a few people brought that up, and I said, I don't know for myself. I don't have a personal account. But that's something
I have a few friends who've done that to me in the past, where they won't like anything positive that I've shared, but they'll go like something negative, and you just realize that's who they are, and then like
that's the ugly aspect.
Yeah, then you just realize that maybe they're not one. You don't want them to be a part of your journey. Yeah,
and I think that's where you also get to see the unfortunately the ugly personalities that come out, or the people that you thought were your friends are not your friends because hence they're really not there for. They're supporting you in your endeavors. Right? Correct?
Yeah.
I guess those aren't the people on your top 5.
Yeah. Or you really get to see.
They're still on the wait list to be denounced.
Yeah, you really get to see a side of human behavior, you know, and you're like,
kind of
oh,
sad
it's not nice.
too. It's really
like
sad.
To me, my thing is if you're going to support someone, I don't like the word follower. I feel like it's not setting any one of us up for success. But if you're going to support someone, go and like their stuff. I understand that sometimes when they post it, the time of day, you're busy, you know, you're working.
But if you're on,
go and support them and like their thing. That's the whole reason that we're all subscribing and following and supporting people. If you don't go and acknowledge and say, hey, I like what you're doing, or engage with them through comments, they might not know if they're doing a great job. So please, in a nice way, feel free to, you know, give us some
feedback,
some positive feedback.
I mean, I'll give you an example. I'm a big Jay Shetty fan, so I go and like almost every one of his posts, and I go and comment when I can. I don't sometimes have things to say, so I don't. But I always like his stuff because I do believe his message is really powerful, and I think it's necessary to get that out as much. So if my like can help get that to more people, I'm happy to like his stuff.
Same way. My friend, he has a personal fitness center in White Rock called PR Fitness. And he knows too, I'm not a big social media guy, but whenever I go on there, I'll make sure I go just watch his story, like it. And he has so many posts, I'll just go and tap, like a bunch of them, leave a comment on it. And I'm like, okay, I did my part.
You're doing your part. You're supporting him.
Yeah. And then he's spreading positivity, fitness, and all the good stuff. So that's up my alley.
I agree. Okay, so with that said, are we good with social media, the good, bad, and the ugly of our version of what we think it is, right? Okay, well, I think we can close the show. Al, would you like to close?
Alrighty. All right, folks. Thank you again for tuning in this week and listening to us. We really hope you enjoyed the podcast. Please go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. And we look forward to seeing you again next week. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.